does the Unitarian churchyard come with one whale of a ghostly tale, my little strangelings. I've decided to save that story for Ghost Bite number 27, which is likely aired long before this cemetery file. So if you want to hear all about the White Lady of the Unitarian churchyard, you can go there. Likewise, I will try to do my best to link these cemetery files to their Ghost Bite by uploading them in the comments of whichever happened to come first. I digress. Since the ghost story associated with this cemetery is its own Ghost Bite, I'm going to instead focus on the details of this cemetery, including its age, location, and the church building's architecture. Construction of the original church at this location began in 1772 and was nearly completed in 1776 when the outbreak of the Revolutionary War occurred. Because both colonial and British forces quartered militia in the building, it needed considerable repair after the war, and its final dedication wasn't until 1787 upon those repairs' completion. For the next 30 years, the church was co-pastored by the same two gentlemen. It wasn't until 1830, however, that the churchyard was established next door on part of the church's grounds. Inspired by Mount Auburn Cemetery in Massachusetts, notable writer and poet Caroline Howard Gilman, wife of Pastor Samuel Gilman, had the churchyard established and built as a place to be used by the living with beautiful plants and objects for quiet contemplation and reflection. It was in 1852 that Francis D. Lee, a notable architect and member of the Unitarian Church's congregation, was tapped to enlarge and rebuild the church into the English Perpendicular Gothic Revival style that it still sports today. During the Civil War, the church closed its doors until 1865 and the war was over. It came within a 2-block hair's breadth of the Great Charleston Fire in 1861, a fire that destroyed at least 5 other churches, which brings me to the reason that Charleston, South Carolina is called the Holy City. Once there were over 80 church steeples across Charleston, and it was how most seafaring individuals knew they had arrived in Charleston Harbor, earning the city the moniker. To be sure, the church survived both the fire and the Civil War, but did sustain quite a bit of damage in the hurricane of 1885 when all of the windows of the nave were blown out after a night spent battered by winds of up to 125 miles per hour. Then, in the following year of 1886, a 7.3 magnitude earthquake shook the city and devastated the church, causing major damage. The entire top of the church tower, including 8 paneled buttresses, high pinnacles, and medieval-style finials, fell into the nave of the church, leaving a gaping hole in the roof and destroying part of the famed fan-vaulted ceiling. Unitarians from across the nation generously donated over $17,000 to the rebuilding effort. In today's money, that's around $573,000. Boston architect Thomas Silloway restored the interior to Francis Lee's original design. The tower, however, was rebuilt in a slightly less elaborate form, with the pinnacles and parapet lowered and simplified. This was to increase structural stability in the event another earthquake struck Charleston. More than 100 years passed before Charleston faced another natural disaster of similar scope. In 1989, Hurricane Hugo destroyed about 30 mature trees in the churchyard. These trees were replaced with lower growing canopy of dogwood, Halestia silverbill, crepe myrtle, and Japanese maple. More than 60 tombstones were also damaged in that storm, but the Laracy Gravestone Conservation Project, named from former member M. Maxine Laracy, was established for their repair, and 65 have been refurbished or repaired to the best of the project's ability. To be sure, the Unitarian churchyard did not disappoint on my trip to Charleston, and you should really be sure to catch that Ghost Bite about that I mentioned. Until next time, happy hauntings, my little strangelings.